Imagine, if you will, a 14-year-old girl on Christmas morning opening up the door to her brother who was struggling with heroin addiction and was thrown out months before, and he was homeless, and she just wanted to give him some food and some comfort. That little girl was me on that Christmas morning, and I was really hoping that I could just talk to my brother and that there was no strings attached. However, I realized his questions about what I got that on Christmas were simply just so he could scope out and steal stuff for his heroin addiction. He broke into my home a week later after Christmas, and I came in to find that my computer with my schoolwork was gone, my college savings were gone, all my gaming systems that I had tons of games saved on were just completely gone. It was thousands of dollars of different stuff. And I wasn't the only one that was affected by it. He also broke into 11 other homes in my own town, including my grandparents' home while they were down in Florida. I was so mad at him for so many years, and he had a sentence of 12 years in prison, and I hadn't talked to him for 5 of those years. I'm just recently starting to talk to him again since I'm an adult and I can understand a little bit more about what is going on. And now I understand that heroin really is just an addiction. An addiction is an illness. It doesn't mean anything about his character as a person. He is still a human being, and he is still my brother, and I love him very much. And if you think that it can't happen to you, heroin can affect anybody's lives. Everybody here knows somebody that has been affected by heroin in some way, and it will happen to you at some point in your life, and you need to understand why it is such a problem. Sorry, give me 1 second. I've had tons of experience with drugs, and I have done extensive research about the epidemic and things that have helped in other countries, and why the things that are happening here aren't helping with the epidemic, like the 12-step program, and how our prisons are just overcrowded and there is little to no rehabilitation in them. Our country is hurting from all of these overdoses in America, but there are many options that we have that can help the epidemic. First, I'll discuss what heroin is, and then I will talk about the severity of the problem, as well as finally at the end, some solutions that we might be able to use to fix it. And according to Goldenberg in 2014, heroin has been defined as an opioid drug that is made from morphine or synthesized from it, and morphine comes from a substance and the seeds of an opium plant, and it was made originally in Germany in 1898 as a cough medication, and aspirin came along with it later as a pain medication because heroin really does help with a lot of physical pain that people have. And that's why it's a huge addiction right now, because people want it to help get over some of the pain that they are feeling from work or just being exhausted from life in general. And according to Scott, due to the aspirin and the cough medications that came around, over 250,000 Americans became addicts. And thanks to the Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906, a lot of people started to get informed about the ingredients that were in their medications and their food. And this allowed a lot of people to stay away from the morphine and the heroin that was in their drugs. Now, this stopped a lot of people from becoming addicts, but it didn't help the people that were already addicted to the drugs at the time. And the FDA realized that it was still a problem, and it was still going around, especially in more not well-off communities, and people were starting to do it in other ways besides just through the medication through the pharmacies. If you look at this photo right here, you can see that there's different ways to do it: through pills that you ingest through your mouth, or through a needle that you put directly into your veins, which is where a lot of the overdoses come from, because people will overcompensate how much they think that they need to put in their veins for the high, and that'll just end up killing them. Or you can heat up a spoon with a powder on it and let it drip into a liquid. That's what absinthe is made of, which is a very, very addictive and awful alcoholic drink. It's this horrible green liquid that if you take just even 3 shots of it, it can kill you almost instantly, and it makes you hallucinate and have the worst perceptions of life that you can imagine. It's a horrible drug, especially when it's mixed with other things. And so many people are struggling with it today that we need to realize that we can help them, though. And according to Nottingham, in 2016, Ohio alone has 3 cities on the top 10 list for heroin usage, with Dayton as the #1 city, and this is only in Ohio. Cincinnati comes in at the #6 spot, which Hamilton is considered part of Cincinnati, and Hamilton is where I'm from. And also Toledo comes in at the #10 spot. Everyone in my town knows at least someone that has been affected by drugs in some way. And it's so popular because it's cheap and it takes away the pain for a short amount of time. And it's also incredibly easy to get. There's so many people on my street alone that can do drug deals. Happens all the time across the street at my post. I live across from a post office. And it happens all the time over there in their parking lot. And according to Viviano, heroin alone has killed over 1,400 people in Ohio, and when it's mixed with other drugs, it has killed 2,600. And altogether, that's 4,000 people before 2016. And this is just in Ohio alone. It's happening to thousands and millions of people all across America. And there are so many options that we have that we can implement in America to help lower the numbers. We can give access to free healthcare to all Americans so they can afford to go to the doctor and get treated for their pain, so they don't feel like they have to go out and get some kind of cheap substance to help them just for 30 minutes with a random high that could end up killing them. They can go to the doctor and get medication that can ultimately help them feel better. And the more people that have that option to go to the doctor, they won't feel like they need to get addicted to a different medication called like heroin and just die from it. And also, if we look at other countries like Canada and Switzerland, their addiction rates have dropped tremendously, and so many people are happier over there. And according to the Economist in 2016, Switzerland has made safe injection facilities. These are facilities where people can go in and shoot up heroin or take it however they will in a safe and controlled environment. There are doctors around, there are counselors, and they have group activities that they can do. It's also a drug rehabilitation center. Sorry, excuse me. And their addicts over there, their addiction rates have dropped by 35%. And if you take the amount of people that have died that I gave you, the 4,000, and you take 35% of that, we could have saved 1,400 of those people by 2016 if we just had those injection facilities here in America. I know it seems weird to have a place where people can go and illegally do drugs, but they're at least safe. We can at least rehabilitate them and make them realize that the drugs are not needed, that they can get past this, that they can get through the when you come off the drug, it's really hard because you're like sweating and you become evil, and it's, I can't think of the word, detoxing. That's it. The detoxing is the hardest part about trying to get off the drugs, because usually addicts do it alone and on the streets, and it is so hard to go through that they feel like, what's the point? I might as well go and get some more drugs rather than go through this pain. If they're in a controlled facility, they have doctors that can help them get through the detoxing phases. And going with the doctor's help, they can get back on the streets and be productive members of society again. Now that you know a little bit about the history of heroin, it is a small portion of the amount of people that are hurting because of it, and I gave you some options to ponder over that might help the epidemic. We have so many options that we can use in America to get through all the hardship and lessen the epidemic and work our way through getting better citizens in our country, rather than throwing them all in prison and having them come out just to reoffend. Our reoffending rates in America are awful because we don't rehabilitate our people in prison. We just send them in there like rats and let them run out like rats. And they just go around and just recommit the crimes. We can make addicts productive members of society again. If we can just rehabilitate, educate, and make them feel worthy of a better life. I know my brother has done some bad things, but he is still human, and addiction is an illness, not a life choice. If you could, it could happen to your friends, it could happen to your family and your neighbors. If you know someone, or if you even need help, please call the addiction hotline at 1-888-319-2606. They can help you out, they can get you into a facility, and hopefully if you reach out to your politicians and let them know that we need free health care in order to get over these overdoses and the amounts of death that happen in America, we can make this country a much safer place. If you have any questions, please don't be hesitant to ask me, and thank you so much for your time and attention.